Hey guys, in this video I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna go over some basic theory. I'm gonna start with distances between notes or intervals, and then we'll use those intervals to make major scales, and then I'll go over some triad chords, 3-note chords, and then we'll go from there. So if you notice the layout of the keyboard, you can see that there's a certain pattern of white notes and then groupings of black notes, and it repeats all the way up. So you see there's 2 black and then 3 black and then 2 and then 3. So basically there are 12 unique notes on the keyboard, and then it just repeats. And the names of those notes, if you want to start on C and you go up, well, before we do that, let's go over. Okay, so starting on middle C here, we're gonna go over half steps and whole steps, also known as semitones and whole tones. So here's C. Any note immediately next to another note without a note in between the two is a half step. So for example, C to this black note is a half step because there's nothing in between them, and then this note to this D is a half step, there's nothing in between them, and this one to that is a half step, and that one to that is a half step, and this two are a half step, there's nothing in between it. So then what makes a whole step? A whole step is when there is a note in between two notes. For example, this note to this next white note is a whole step because there's this black note in between. Same thing here, and same thing from this black to this one, that's a whole step because there's this one in between. And same thing from here to here, it's a whole step, there's one in between. So that's the pattern all the way up, doesn't matter what note you're on. That's the rule for half steps and whole steps. So now that you know that, we'll go over the note names. And you're on C. We'll start on all the white notes: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then back to C, and then it repeats. Now the black notes. Each black note has 2 names depending on, that gets into key signatures and for purposes of notating it on sheet music, but I won't get into that right now. So here you're on C. If you're going up to the right, the rule is that it is sharped, and which means you raise it up, you raise the pitch. And then if you're going down to the left, it's flat. So here you can see that you could go up to the right and you'd be at that note, but you could go down to the left and you'd still be at that note. So that's why they have 2 names depending upon which way you're going, and as I said, the key signature. So if you're going up to the right, you're raising it up, you're raising this C up a half step, that would be C sharp. But if you're on D and you're lowering it a half step, it would be D flat. Same thing here. You're going up, it'd be D sharp. If you're going down from the E, it'd be E flat. Over here, F sharp or G flat, G sharp or A flat, then A sharp or B flat. And then technically this C, you can call it B sharp, or well, you could call it D double flat, but just for now you could call it B sharp or C. And then same thing with this F, these 2 where there are no black notes in between, these 2 examples on the keyboard, you can call that E sharp. Okay, so now you know the white note names, now you know the black note names, and you know distances, intervals between half steps and whole steps. So now from there you can build scales, and just to make it simple we're going to stick to major scales for now. So the pattern to build any major scale, no matter which of the 12 keys you want to do it on, we're going to use C for an example, just for purposes of demonstration. The pattern is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So whole, half, whole, half, and that'll build you any major scale on the keyboard or any other instrument. But so how does that apply? So if you know the pattern, let's say you start on C, you know you need a whole step, so you go to D because there's one in between, and then you know you need another whole step from that D, so you go to E, again one in between. Now from the E you know you need a half step, so you're gonna go up to F, nothing in between. Now from that F you know you need another whole step, so you're going to G. From that G you need another whole step, so you go to A. You need another whole step, so you go to B. And then B you need another whole step, so you go to C. So that gives you your C major scale. Now you would play that like that. You'll notice there are 8 notes, but you only have 5 fingers, so you need to play the first 3, cross your thumb over, and then play the last 5. Then when you go down, play 5, and then cross your 3rd finger down and play the 3. Okay, so you can work on doing that. Now if you wanna, you should use that pattern of the whole steps and half steps and apply it to all the other keys and make your major scale out of that. So you could do it here, you could do it here, here, and so forth. And I'll do one more example. I'll do F. So for F, you start on F, you go to G, you go to A, you go to B flat, C, D, E, F. Okay, now back to C. Every major scale is made up of individual tones here. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, back to C. So from each of those you can build a 3-note chord called a triad. And when you're building triads within a certain key, for example C major, which we're doing, scale C major, the notes of the chords can only be what the scale is made up of. So you can't venture out and hit other notes. So you have a framework, and you know you have to stick within those notes to make the chords. So it's kind of easy that way. So and then the chords are named for which note is on the bottom: C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and back to C major. Unless the exception to that is when you do inversions, which is simply rearranging the notes of the chords. Say you have a C major here. If you want to instead use those same notes but rearrange them, you could put the E on the bottom instead of that C, and then you put the G next and then the C on top. It's still C major, it's just an inversion. They're called inversions. And then you could do the G on bottom, the C, then the E on top. It's still C major. So you have the root position, the first inversion, and the second inversion. Back to root. Okay, so getting a little ahead, but that's pretty easy to understand. So here you have the C, E, G. And for major chords, it's always gonna be a major third and then a minor third. So C to E is a major third. I guess we have to go over that too. But for now, that's a major third, that's a minor third. And then for minor chords, it's a minor third and a major third. It's reversed. So major chord is made up of a major third and then a minor third. A minor chord is made up of a minor third then a major third. And you can hear that the major sounds kind of happier and the minor is sad. You know, an example would be that C sharp minor. Okay, so back to, okay, so you're going on C, and when you're making, okay, so that's starting on C. Now you want to go to D and you want to make the triad. So you're going to go D, and then you're going to find a minor third, which is the F, and then you're going to find a major third from the F, which is A. So this is why you have to know all your scales, because when you're trying to make your chords and you're looking for the quality of the interval, whether it's major or minor or whatever it is, diminished, augmented, your frame of reference is the scale that you're on. So just because we're in the key of C, that's our frame of reference for the first one, for C. But then when you go to D, your frame of reference is the D major scale. And in the D major scale, or relative to D, this F sharp would be a major third, and then this F natural would be a minor third. So I hope this isn't confusing, but when you're on a major third, to make it minor, you just go down a half step, and to make it major, you go up half step. Okay, so D minor would be a minor third, D to F, and then a major third, F to A. Same thing with E. E to G is a minor third, E to G sharp is a major third. But those notes, and this one, they're not in the key of C, so you can't use those. So by default, your third chord of the C scale, C major scale, is going to be E minor, because you can only use the notes in the scale. And since G is a minor third, it's going to be minor. G to B is a major third. Okay, now F to A is a major third, A to C is a minor third, so that's major. Then you have G to B, same thing, major third, B to D, minor. So that's a major triad, G major. A to C is a minor third. C to E, we know that's a major third, so that's A minor. And now the rule is, for the seventh note of every major scale, the chord is always going to be diminished. That's the rule. And diminished is B, D, F. So it's two minor thirds. So B to D is a minor third, and then D to F is a minor third. So two minor thirds gives you any diminished chord. Okay, and then you're back to C. So chords again. And even easier than knowing that is you can skip one and then skip one. but you should know the theory behind it. So now we have our chords, we have our major scale, we have the chords that make up the major scale, we have our intervals, distances between notes, and we talked about inversions, inverting the chord. So when you start, when you're in this root position, it'll be the skip one, and then when you invert it, you'll notice that it's no longer that way. It's E, G, and then you skip 2, and then it's G, skip 2, and then skip 1. So it's no longer skip 1, it could be 2. So that's how you know you're inverted. And the purpose of inversions is pretty much to facilitate easier playing, because if you're trying to do, say you're trying to do a 1, 4, 5 chord progression, which there are numbers that designate chords within a scale. Of course, C would be 1, D would be 2, E would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and they could be, they're Roman numerals, and if they're minor, they would be lowercase I for 2. If they're major, they would be uppercase Roman numerals. So you might see sheet music somewhere for pop songs or whatever, and you would see chord progressions marked out 1, 4, 5, or 2, 4, 6, or whatever. And that's what that means. So for example, if you're doing a 1, 4, 5 in the key of C, it would be C, E, G to F, A, C to G, B, D. But you don't want to play that way, because it's kind of it's less fluid. So that's where inversions come in. You could go, you could start here, and then to play your 4, you just shift these E and G up to an F and an A, and now you're on an F major inverted chord. And then from that one, you could come back to G, and then you could go to your 5. But instead of jumping all the way up here from here, you just shift the C and the E down to this B and G, B and D, and now you're in a G major chord. So it just makes it easier, you know. And you can do it that way, or you can start on an inversion of the C, and then you could play your F this way, and then you could play your G this way. So it just makes it more fluid, it keeps everything closer together, and it sounds more professional that way. That's what you hear in songs all the time. So I think we'll stop there for now, and so what you can do is you can review the pattern for making major scales, and you can apply it to all the notes, and then you can make your chords within that scale, and then you can test yourself, pick a note, and then you know, pick a note relative to it and see if it's a half step or a whole step. And then I'll get into like what, if you're on a C to an E, is that how you know that's a major third, and how you know that's a perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, and so on. I'll get into that in another video. So if you need clarification on anything from this video, feel free to comment, and if you can like and share and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions for stuff that you want to know, you can comment that. And thanks for watching.